G'day, John Canny here. Well, 12 months I've had her, and I've got to say right at the start, I still love her. She's been great. But I thought, seeing it's been 12 months since the arrival, and here we were. Okay, we're off. Wow.
First impressions?
I've only gone 100 metres, but feels great. I thought I'd give a bit of a review of what my lived experience with this car has been. So let's just go through what I've got, what I've had, what issues, if any, I've had, and what I think is fantastic about this car. Well, I think the whole car is fantastic, but let's talk about the little things that niggle me as well. So we'll start inside the cabin. Well, I tell you what, when my backside hits the seat, I get excited. Every time I get in this car, I love driving it. The seats are beautiful. The interior is just fantastic. I mean, I think, you know, the 10-year-old boy in me loves all these switches and things up here. But not only that, they're functional, and you get used to where they all are, so you don't have to even look after a while. And they're good quality switches, and I think it's a great feature to have things up there. Most of that's to do with the four-wheel driving. The rest of the functions, the day-to-day functions, are down here. But I love the interior. You know, I've fitted my UHF radio. If you're interested in fitting a UHF radio and you don't want to drill holes in your car, I've got a video on that, and I'll leave the link in the description. So the interior is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But there are a few little things that do niggle me a bit. Firstly, there's a lack of storage space. Now, there's a small glove box, and there's the centre console here. But there's not much else, and my wife gets a little bit concerned, well, a little bit bothered when we're on long trips, because I tend to pile things on her lap, you know, cameras and map books and different things like that. So that's a bit of a problem. But there's an issue here with this too. The materials they've used down here on this, and I don't know whether you can see it there, but because I've been putting things on here like cameras and GoPros, and you see the scratches here and here. It's just all marked, and it looks shabby, which is really disappointing, because, you know, these need to be tougher materials. This is supposed to be a car that's suitable for farmers and off-road, and it's a tough vehicle. And to have these surfaces here that look great, this shiny black's great and the silver's great, it needs to be toughened up. I know it's only a little thing, but I'm a bit disappointed that my car's scratched in there. You know, I use it for what it's meant for, so I'm throwing dirty gloves and I'm throwing things on there because there's only the pockets in the doors, which I've normally got a drink bottle in, nowhere else to put things. But, you know, apart from that, I do love the interior of this car. There's one of the other things I've done in here is I have put a few extra power outlets, and I've used the pre-wired circuits that are wired up here, and well, I guess they kind of hid them from us, so it was a bit of an interesting exploration to find out where all those leads were. I did that, and also if you're looking to find where those various power outlets are, or where the wires for them are, I've got a video, and I'll link that also in the description as well. But I've used those to wire up a couple of extra outlets down there. They're also used to run my UHF radio. There are also powers there which I've got, which I plug in my rear view camera on the trailer, and I've got my phone wired up to them as well, so they've been really useful. It's a pity they didn't make them a bit more accessible initially, but you know, we found them. So the issue with the electrics in this car has been one that's been Well, it's wired completely different with the second battery than we normally have in our Australian cars, and you know, it was a bit confusing to work out how to sort all of that out. I've done that, and I've got the additional battery charger fitted, the CTEC battery charger, and I run all of my gear off there, my fridge, and anything else that I want to run, and I've not got any problems at all. It's terrific. So the battery system works well, never had a problem with it, and I've done a lot of camping. I run my trailer off the back. I've got an adapter onto the NATO plug to a 12-pin plug. That works fine with the trailer, so all's good with that, but it's always been a bit intriguing. And one of the issues that still remains a little bit of a disappointment to me is that we haven't got any workshop manuals that have been promised by Ineos. It's 12 months, a bit more actually now, down the track, and they still haven't surfaced. I'm hoping that one day they will, and I understand that maybe there's differences for different countries, and it takes a bit of work to get those going, but hopefully they'll appear, because they'd be really handy, so we can know what's going on with our cars a bit more than having to find out through exploring, even though it's a lot of fun. So the interior is terrific. The seats, the Recaro seats are fantastic, as I said. I've got these Supafit seat covers on here, which I'm really happy with. I've got denim in the front, which has seen a trip to Birdsville and back, and mud and dust and dirt, and still great, still great. In the back, I've got the canvas, which is great for kids and dogs and spilt drinks and everything else. And that's really settled down too, so the canvas is really good also. I've just got these in the front because I thought they might be a bit more comfortable to sit on, but I've not had any complaints from the back. So inside of the car, fantastic, except the thing that's to me is a major oversight, and I can't believe that Ineos still haven't dealt with this issue, and that's the reversing camera. This car is difficult enough to see out the back at any time, and if you have a look, you'll see, looking out the back there's lots of things. Where are we? There's lots of things in the road. There's, you know, the double doors, there's half the tyre sticking out, and I've got a cargo barrier as well. So it's difficult to see out the back, so it's even more important that we have a good reversing camera. Now, the reversing camera, I'll just see if we can bring up the reversing camera. Now, that's the size of the reversing camera. And you can see that it's off center, it's very small, and you know, it takes up this little bit of the screen. I mean, if I go to the mapping system, mapping takes up this whole area here, but the camera is this bit. So it's just not good enough, that. So what a lot of people are doing, well, I don't know, a few that I've met are doing, putting in additional reversing cameras themselves on the back, and that's my next step. I've been waiting, hoping that this might be upgraded with some sort of software upgrade, but nothing has appeared as yet, and doesn't seem to be likely from what I hear. So that's a disappointment, and that's the only thing that still nags me. We did have a problem initially with the GPS connection to the phone, and that just didn't work for a long time. It was very frustrating, but that's been fixed with a software update and works beautifully, so no problem with that. Okay, so while I'm inside the car, let's talk about a couple of issues that are raised very, very often. And one is the footrest, down here, that one. Now, I have not found the footrest to be a problem for me, okay? I'm about 5'10". I'm not overly tall. I have not found the footrest to be a problem for me at all, and anyone who's driven my car has not mentioned it. I've also spoken to a lot of people who have got these cars and don't find it a problem.
Have you noticed the footrest?
No, I haven't.
No, neither have I. Neither has Dermot. He's never driven an Ineos in his life and never once said anything.
Yeah.
So
I don't notice
goes
that.
to show that you don't notice it once you get used to it.
Yeah, it's not an issue, the footrest, I don't think.
Yeah, worse. I mean, I've moved my foot around on cruise and
we've done, all of us here have done a lot of kilometres over the last. Now, it seems to be a problem for those that don't have the car yet and are worried about it, or those that are particularly tall, and fair enough. I agree, maybe if you're 6'3", it is a problem, but it's not a problem for me, so that's just my experience. The other thing about this car is the steering. Now, there's talk of the steering being, wobbly and difficult to control and all of those sorts of things. I haven't found that either. Have a look at this. So this road's not too bad here, but you'll notice I'm not needing to adjust the steering at all. It's just travelling along perfectly stable, even though it's a bit of a track, but I'm not having to do this all the time. In fact, if I do that, the car's all over the place. Just hold the steering, there she goes without it, hands off. Car is just tracking, no hands on the steering wheel at the moment. So all those thoughts about the car wandering all over the road, I'm not finding that with mine. So I don't have a problem with the steering, neither does my wife or my friend Leo, who often drives the car when we're away on trips, has never mentioned the steering being a problem. Yeah, it's got a big turning circle. Now this is a bloody big car. It's got a solid front axle and it has a large turning circle. Be better if it was smaller, but it's not. Now I've driven a lot of different cars in my time and a lot of fire trucks and different things, so I'm used to cars being different and vehicles being different, trucks being different. This is different from my Forester or my BMW, totally different, and I understand that. So you just got to get used to the fact that when you're in the shopping centre parking lot, you got to do a few more backs and turns or things like that to get in. It's part of it. And it doesn't self-centre the same way as, a lot of cars do. Okay, 10 minutes of driving and I got used to that, and so does everybody else who's driven it. If those sort of things bother you though, they're certainly part of this car. It has a big turning circle, the steering doesn't self-centre, but I don't find any problem driving along the highway or through the bush, that's for sure. So they're the things that come up often, and they're probably legitimate concerns. If you're spending this sort of money, you want to know whether those things are going to be deal breakers. They're not for me with that. So the only thing that niggles me still is that blasted rear view camera, because it's not good enough. Other than that, fantastic in here, comfortable, great to drive. Love it. I've fitted a light bar to this car, so we'll talk about that when we get out, but I've put my switch down here for the light bar, and up here I have my brake controller. So this whole panel here, there's not much behind that, and it would have been nice to have a few blank spots in there so that we could have put switches on rather than having to cut it out and fit them ourselves. But anyway, tiny issues. So no real big issues inside the car, except that it's a great place to be. Okay, so let's get out and have a look outside. Well, I haven't got much to say about the outside other than I think this car still looks fabulous, and I have a winch in the front. Okay, the winch has got a smaller than most rope length with it, but I've got a couple of winch extension ropes in there, or straps, that I carry with me when my recovery kit's a big deal. I've got the bull bar. I mentioned the light bar that I've got up the top there. That bar is from Ultravision, which is an Australian made bar, made in Victoria, and it's fantastic. It's not wired up to the panel on the side. It's not wired up to there because that's a 25 amp. This is 26 amp. And also wiring up there doesn't connect you up to your high beam. So I know it's probably okay for just using it off-road, but gee, when you're driving through the country and you need to have your lights on high beam and connected to your high beam, yeah, I've had it wired up separately. My auto electrician wired it up, and it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Not only has it got a long range, it's got a really broad spread, and I have chosen the lower, or the warmer colour, the 4500 Kelvin light, which is a bit more yellowy than some of these lights that are very, very blue, or white, I should say. And I find it much more pleasant on your eyes when you're driving for a long time. You don't get as much reflection of signs, and it's just a softer, yellower colour rather than that harsh white. So I'd recommend, if you're thinking about one of these, to certainly look at the 4500 Kelvin light. Much more pleasant to drive with. So while I'm standing here, I'm just looking here, seeing powered by BMW. So I've got the BMW diesel engine in this car, and it's a fantastic engine. I love it. It just purrs along. Come around your own train if that's okay.
One coming, mate,
Don't hurry, teamed with the ZF gearbox, just beautiful. I guess if the one thing about the whole car that is what it is, if I can put it that way, is that the fuel tank's only 90 litres. So this is the issue with the Ineos Grenadier fuel tank in Outback Australia. It's not big enough. Now, I got out of a Ford Ranger before this, and it was 90 litres too, and no one talked too much about that, but I guess because it was a ute, we could put things in the back, and which I always did. And I actually used to carry, I think, 60 or 80 litres of diesel in the back of that when I'd go on some of the longer trips. I need at least 40 extra litres with me in this car to travel in the Australian outback. When I'm towing, you know, I find another way around it. I can carry fuel on my camper trailer, which I'm towing, so that covers that situation. In other countries, it might not be such a problem, where the distances aren't as far and fuel's not as remote as it is in Australia. Also, while I'm talking about that, it'd be really nice if Ineos thought about changing the filler spout on these cars to allow for high flow diesel, so we don't have to worry about trying to get adapters and different things. Come on, that must be an easy one. A lot of fuel in the outback in Australia is high flow pumps only. But this, you know, I feel safe in this car. I feel confident in this car out there, and you know, sometimes you encounter situations that you didn't expect to encounter. It's never let me down. It's never let me down. Okay, the car did let me down once, okay, and that was to do with a power steering problem, electrical problem with the power steering, and yeah, I was lucky enough that it occurred in my driveway here, and I was able to get a truck and take it 10 minutes down the road to the dealer, and they fixed it fairly promptly, and I've never had a problem since. It's not something that we want happening to anybody. It could have happened in the middle of, you know, outback Queensland as well. It didn't. It happened here. And look, you know, I guess occasionally things go wrong. I haven't heard too many others with that. In fact, I haven't heard anyone else with that particular problem, but if you've had that problem, let me know. So that's the only thing, that's the only time it's let me down. I've had a few little issues. I had a problem with the winch, which was connected to that same electrical problem. I had a flat tyre, and I damaged an alloy rim when I was in the outback, and I was driving off-road, and I mean off the road, trying to get around some water, and I actually damaged the rim and caused the tyre to go flat. The rim was not repairable, which was just, which of course, you know, you damage those things and that's the end of them. But it was just bad luck. It was a huge rock that got jammed up and just damaged the rim. I guess it opens the discussion about whether we should be using steelies or whether we should be using alloys. You know, I'm not the sort of person who tries to find the biggest rock to climb over or the deepest ditch or the, you know, most savage river to cross. I just do overlanding basically, but I like to go on the remote tracks, and you know, some of them are pretty remote. So yeah, it's a great vehicle. When I look up there again, I see the roof rack, the Rhino roof rack. That was original equipment. Would I go there again with that? Oh, don't know. Look, Rhino Rack's now an American company, which is fine. The trouble with it is it's very heavy. It weighs 60 kilos, so we've got 150 we can put up there, but 60 of it's gone already as soon as you put the rack on. So if you're putting a rooftop tent on there, I reckon bars might be the way to go with that roof bars, because, you know, who wants 60 kilos, then you put a 100 kilo rooftop tent on there, you're right on the limit. But it's a good rack, it's handy, and you know, I've used it for what it's meant for. So, just going around the cars, I didn't have these checker plates on here originally. I got them fitted locally, just for fun, you know, just because they look good. That's about it. I don't, you know, I guess I'm starting to put a few more things on here when we stop, like coffee and a thermos or something like that, that I wouldn't have on my Juco. But yeah, I reckon they look good. So if we move around the car, those who watch my video will know that I did have a bit of concern over the side steps, the paint coming off those pretty quickly. I've had them replaced and they seem to be going okay at the moment. You know, the back of the car, yeah, everything's great about it. So I don't, you know, I've got to say, I've done 30,000 kilometres and I think you know, 25 of those have probably been in Outback Queensland and Victoria and South Australia. So, you know, it's most of its kilometres have been on those unmade roads in sort of fairly remote areas in Australia. Here we've had some wet seasons in the Outback for the last couple of years, so it's done a lot of mud and a lot of wet stuff. I've come unstuck a couple of times, you know, nothing serious when I say that. Obviously I had a bit of a problem with a van, but we won't go into that one again. But yeah, really enjoyed it. I've spoken to a lot of people who have these cars. I haven't actually struck anybody who said, oh, I wish I hadn't bought this bloody thing. I'm glad I bought mine and I would highly recommend it. And I guess that's my review. It's pretty simple. I've had it for 12 months and I love it. But the cars have been going great?
Car's going great. It's towing like a champion.
Yeah, and you're towing the camper trailer, no problem?
Yep, same.
Yep.
And it's going perfectly. And otherwise, zero problems with the car. Really felt.
And comfortable.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations.